Okay, hi, Mike Pardis here, and at somebody's request, we're going to take down a rabbit today. So I've got a rabbit, supermarket rabbit, bought fresh. I've got hindquarters, the two hind legs, the medius part. We've got the loin, which runs right across here, spilling out from the inside of the cavity, which were loosened at the processing plant probably, the livers, and then we've got the forequarters, which are right here. Now those are the important parts, and those are the pieces we're going to be taking off. Also inside the cavity are a couple of other prized little bits, and those are the kidneys and the kidney fat. So we're going to remove those as well, because I'll show you how we're going to use them when we get to the end. This kidney fat is nice and rich, and since most of the rabbit, especially the loins, are very lean, it's nice to have the kidney fat to help add some succulence and moisture when you're cooking the loins. So I'm going to take off some of that kidney fat right now with my fingers while it's easy to get at, and then put all that right over there on my trim tray. Alright, so the first thing to do is to take the legs out. Now, if you remember when we did a chicken, we found the ball joint, which is right there. You can feel the ball in the socket. And then we flip it over, and applying some pressure to the ball joint, we just pop it right out of the socket. And we'll do it on both legs at the same time. Okay, so that comes out, pop, pop. It's not too difficult to see where you're going to cut. We're going to follow this seam right here. We're going to try very hard not to damage the loin. Okay, so we're going to separate right here at the hip joint and cut in, cut down, and along the back of the spine, and it comes off very, very easily. Alright, so we'll set that aside. The other leg, the other hind leg, been popped out of its socket, and again cutting along the base of the spine, and detaching the other hind leg. So both hind legs are off. Now turning it around, we've got the forequarters, the four legs. Now there's no joint here. These are held on only by muscle and cartilage, so this is pretty easy to remove. You don't have any bones to pop out of sockets. Just simply sticking your tip of your knife underneath the shoulder and cutting away. Again, trying not to disrupt the loin. And then taking the tip of the knife and following along, and the forequarter comes right off. All right. So set that aside, we'll turn it over and remove the other forequarter. Taking that off. It's easy to cut right through the meat and the cartilage. There's no bone holding it in place. And there, the second foreleg is taken off. Now, the loins. These are the most prized pieces, and these are the pieces I'm going to cook for dinner for Sierra and I tonight. And you can see the spine. And on either side of the spine is a nice meaty piece of loin. It's about, probably about a half an inch and maybe an inch in diameter. Now, taking the tip of my knife and running it just slightly to one side of the spine, I'm going to cut down just until I get to the rib cage. I'm angling my knife in towards the spine so that I don't disrupt any of the flesh of the loin, and I'm running up towards the neck, and when I hit the rib cage, I'm going to follow that rib cage out just with the tip of my knife and remove the loin from the ribs. Now along with the loin is going to come the belly flap. This is in two pieces, one for each half of the rabbit, where they eviscerated the rabbit at the processor. And once I get the loin removed from the ribs, you'll be able to see that this flap will come in really handy. I'm going to set that over there while I do the other one, and then I'll lay them out so that you can see what we're going to do with them. Again, angling my knife in towards the spine, using the tip, cutting down to the rib cage. When I hit the rib cage, then of course the rib cage arcs out. So I follow the ribs, keeping my knife angled in against the bones of the ribs so that I don't hurt the loin. And I'm going to try to reserve that belly flap on this side too. Sometimes with factory processed rabbits, there's a couple of rips or tears that make that sort of difficult, so I'm trying to work around that. There's a little tear in this one. Alright, set that aside. Now before I get to the more interesting parts, I want to get in here. This is the underside, right, the opposite side inside the cavity, and there are a couple of very thin choice bits. These would be called the tenderloin on a larger animal, so I guess they're still called the tenderloin on the rabbit. There's not a lot of meat there, but they're very tender, and they can easily be wrapped up in the belly fat, or sorry, the belly flap, and served as part of the loin, as you'll see what we'll do with everything else. We're going to stuff the loin in the belly flap. Okay, so I've got the tenderloins removed there. Right, now I've got this carcass here, which is, well, just like chicken, usable for making stock. We can either make a brown stock or a white stock. I usually like brown rabbit stock. Just cut it enough so that it'll fit into the pot, just with the heel of the knife right back here, the heavy part. And I'm going to put this over on my trim plate. And now, this is what I wanted to show you with those belly flaps. Here's the loin right here, and here is the belly flap. Now what this is good for is it makes a great wrapper, so that you can make a package with other things. You can layer in alongside the loin and then roll it around to hold it sealed. And then you can either tie it with string or wrap it with bacon or pancetta to give yourself a nice long stuffed rabbit loin that roasts really well with crisp bacon on the outside and all kinds of good stuff on the inside. So what I've done ahead of time